The shadow over Earth. The first sign was not fire in the sky, but silence among the stars. Astronomers noticed it before anyone else. Familiar constellations dimmed, entire sectors of the night sky vanishing behind something vast. At first, scientists thought it was a natural phenomenon, maybe a cosmic dust cloud or some strange alignment. But then, the outlines of colossal ships emerged from the void. The Galactic Empire had arrived. Their vessels were monstrous, kilometers long, bristling, with weapons that pulsed with alien energy. They blotted out the sun in certain orbits, leaving shadows stretching across the Earth's upper atmosphere. The human eye had never seen such engineering, cities floating in space, each one carrying enough firepower to burn planets. For the Empire, this was a routine show of power. For Earth, it was a moment that froze time itself. News spread faster than light across every corner of the world. Television anchors stuttered over their words. Live feeds showing glowing shapes in the night sky above the oceans. Social media exploded with shaky phone videos, massive silhouettes gliding silently overhead. Some people screamed, some prayed, others refused to believe. Governments scrambled, activating emergency protocols, but even the strongest militaries looked like ants compared to what hovered above. The first broadcast came soon after. A voice, cold and mechanical, transmitted in every language at once. This is the Galactic Empire. You will surrender your planet, your resources, and your future. Resist and you will be erased. The message echoed in homes, bunkers, cars, and phones. Children wept. Parents clutched their families tighter. Soldiers gripped their rifles knowing they were useless. The ultimatum was clear: kneel or vanish. But Earth did not respond. The silence was deafening. The Empire expected immediate pleas for mercy, desperate negotiations, perhaps chaos among leaders. Instead, they were met with nothing. World governments gathered in secret, but no voice spoke back to the stars. To the invaders, it looked like weakness. To those who knew humanity's history, it was something else entirely. From orbit, the Empire's commanders studied their prey. To them, Earth was a primitive world, still divided by borders, still fighting among itself. Its defenses were laughable. A few satellites, fragile warships, nuclear weapons barely strong enough to scorch a city. Against the Empire's might, humanity seemed already dead. Yet there was something unsettling about the way Earth remained quiet. It was not the silence of fear. It was the silence before a storm. On the ground, people tried to live normal lives. Children still went to school, though their teachers kept glancing at the sky. Markets opened, though every transaction felt like it might be the last. In underground bases, however, activity roared. Screens flickered, data streamed, encrypted messages fired into the void. Humanity was not as unprepared as it seemed. Generals who had sworn never to work together now sat at the same tables. Scientists who had kept their projects secret for decades finally revealed their findings. Politicians dropped their masks of rivalry. Something was uniting humanity in the shadows. The Empire noticed strange signals, brief pulses sent toward the asteroid belt. Coded transmissions bouncing off Jupiter's moons. Their analysts dismissed them as panic attempts, old satellites sending meaningless data. They did not understand the truth. Humanity was speaking, but not to them. In every major city, whispers spread. Some said that hidden weapons existed, built in secret, waiting for this very day. Others believed in distant colonies, lost missions that had gone dark long ago, now returning. A few claimed Earth had prepared not one defense but many, scattered across space like seeds of resistance. Still, to the ordinary person, the fear was crushing. In London, people huddled in underground train stations. In New York, skyscrapers glowed through the night as if more light would drive away the shadows above. In Tokyo, entire families wore masks of calm while quietly packing bags of supplies. Above all, the Empire's fleet remained, a ceiling of death, patient, silent, waiting. Finally, a second transmission came, harsher than the first. Surrender, or we demonstrate. And they did. a smaller fleet broke away from orbit, targeting Earth's moon. The attack was swift and merciless. A barrage of plasma fire struck the barren surface, vaporizing craters that had stood for billions of years. Dust clouds rose into space, scattering like ashes. For the first time, humanity saw their closest neighbors scarred by alien wrath. The message was clear: Earth would be next. Yet even as people trembled at the sight, something else stirred in their hearts: anger, defiance, a refusal to kneel. The Empire waited for surrender, but Earth remained silent. Behind that silence, deep within bunkers, a single coded phrase appeared on every secret screen, repeated across all channels, all nations. Phase 1 complete. The storm was coming. The weight of history. The moon still glowed in the night sky, but its scars were new and brutal. Whole craters had been erased, replaced by glowing rivers of molten rock that shimmered in silence. Every telescope on Earth captured the image, and every human eye saw the proof. The Galactic Empire did not bluff. Yet humanity still gave no answer. Inside the Empire's flagship, confusion spread. Admiral Korath, a being with skin like molten iron, paced across the command deck. His species had crushed countless civilizations, but never had he faced such stillness from prey. Normally, worlds begged, surrendered before the first shot was even fired. Yet Earth was silent, watching, waiting. "Are they paralyzed by fear?" one alien officer asked. "No," Korath growled. His gaze lingered on the blue world. "This is not fear. This is memory." Down on Earth, history itself seemed to awaken. In classrooms, teachers spoke softly about wars long past. They reminded students how humans had endured invasions before, by empires of flesh and empires of ideology. On television, documentaries replayed footage of burned cities, toppled towers, oceans of fire, and the survivors who crawled out of the ashes to rebuild. Unlike other species, humanity had faced extinction not once, but many times. They had survived ice ages, plagues, bombs, and madness. Their scars were etched into their cultures, their books, their bones. Every attempt to erase them had only made them harder. The Empire could not see it, but the people of Earth felt it. This was not the first ultimatum in their history. It might not even be the last. Governments moved in secret. In the cold halls of underground bunkers, leaders gathered, their voices steady though their faces were pale. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, even rival nations that had not spoken. In decades, now they sat shoulder to shoulder. The question was not if humanity would resist. The question was how. "Conventional weapons are nothing," a general muttered, slamming his hand on the table. "They would swat our nukes like flies." "Then we do not fight conventionally," replied a scientist, her voice sharp. She slid a tablet across the table, revealing blueprints long classified, projects whispered about but never confirmed. Eyes narrowed. Fear turned into calculation. Far above, the Empire observed strange patterns. Satellite signals winked out, but not in chaos, vanished in sequences as if deliberately cut. Old abandoned space stations flickered with sudden power. Long dead transmitters buried in deserts awoke, sending pulses deep into space. Korath's analysts dismissed them as primitive attempts. But in truth, Earth was not signaling distress. Earth was calling something back. In hidden facilities beneath the Arctic ice, engineers powered up colossal machines, long-range arrays built decades ago under the guise of research stations. In forgotten deserts, hangars opened, revealing crafts covered in dust and secrecy. Across oceans, submarines that had carried nuclear missiles were repurposed, their warheads replaced with something far stranger. It was not a single weapon humanity was preparing. It was a mosaic of desperation and genius, scattered across the planet like fragments of a puzzle. Meanwhile, ordinary people clung to life in their own ways. In the streets of Paris, musicians played songs as if nothing had changed, their violins echoing against the fear. In Brazil, families gathered on rooftops watching the alien ships glimmer like false stars. In Africa, storytellers sat with children, recounting tales of ancestors who had fought impossible battles and still lived to tell them. Everywhere, humanity's greatest weapon burned quietly, their stubborn refusal to break. The Empire's patience thinned. Another broadcast thundered across the planet. You defy the Empire. Your moon's fate was a warning. You have one rotation of your planet to respond. After that, your world will be ash. The threat shook cities, but still no answer came. Instead, deep within an underground base, a phrase appeared again unencrypted. Monitors Phase 2, initiated. And then, silence. But it was not an empty silence. It was filled with echoes. Echoes of trenches where soldiers once held lines against impossible odds, of cities bombed into rubble only to rise taller, of explorers who had crossed oceans of death just to plant a flag in new soil. Humanity's defiance was older than any empire. It was in their blood, and now it whispered across the stars. The Empire thought Earth was alone, but Earth knew better. For out there, far beyond Neptune, something stirred. Something that had been waiting for this very call. The weight of history, pressed heavy, but in that weight was strength. The kind of strength that could turn fear into fire. The shadow over Earth deepened, but it was not only the empires, it was also the shadow of what humanity was about to unleash. Humanity's secret assembly. The alien fleet floated like a crown of death around Earth. Every continent could see, their ships at night glowing faintly against the stars. People whispered that the sky itself had been stolen. Yet under that suffocating shadow, Earth was not broken. It was preparing. In hidden command bunkers beneath mountains, the assembly of humanity began. Leaders who had once been enemies now sat at the same table. Generals who had fought wars against each other stared across maps not of countries, but of the solar system. Scientists carried blueprints older than the Empire suspected, plans whispered about for decades, denied in public, but perfected in silence. The room itself felt heavy. Screens buzzed, projecting the image of the alien fleet. Every detail was studied, every weakness hunted. "This is no ordinary invasion," one admiral said. "They think we are fractured." "That we will kneel," answered another. "They do not know," whispered a scientist, sliding a hand across the glowing map, "that humanity has never fought alone." At that moment, encrypted transmissions pulsed outward. They leapt from old satellites, bounced between the moons of Jupiter, and vanished into the dark beyond Neptune. The messages were not calls for help. They were summons. For decades, humanity had hidden its second face. Explorers, engineers, and rogue visionaries had gone farther than governments ever admitted. Secret colonies, forgotten expeditions, and exiled pioneers had built lives in the black between stars. They were ghosts in the void, until now. Now they answered. In the asteroid belt, entire rock fields shifted. Engines roared to life under their surfaces, breaking centuries of silence. Huge mining rigs transformed into cannons, their drills replaced by weapons aimed at the Empire. On Titan, Saturn's moon, long-buried hangars opened, releasing crafts that shimmered like shadows, cloaked in stealth. From Europa's icy oceans, signal towers rose, powered by geothermal heat, sending codes toward Earth. Humanity's true assembly was not just on Earth. It was across the solar system. Pieces of a hidden fleet, fragments of a forgotten dream, now converged. But secrecy came at a cost. The Empire had noticed something. A scout vessel patrolling near Mars picked up irregular energy spikes. Korath, the iron-skinned admiral, stared at the readings. "They hide something," he growled. "This world of insects has tricks. Find them." Dozens of smaller Empire ships broke formation, sweeping the system. They discovered abandoned satellites, but each one carried false data. They found empty stations, but every signal led them deeper into traps of static. Humanity's deception was working. Meanwhile, on Earth, the people felt both terror and pride. News leaked slowly. Rumors, of hidden allies in space, whispers of weapons that could strike even giants. Families sat around radios and screens, listening to coded messages they could not understand, but somehow they knew. Their planet was not as helpless as it seemed. Still, tension cut deep. Humanity's secret assembly was a gamble. Their weapons were untested, their fleets scattered, their unity fragile. A single misstep, and the Empire would burn them before they could strike. In an underground chamber beneath the Swiss Alps, the final decision was made. A massive table showed the solar system in light, Earth in the center, the Empire's fleet glowing like fire above it, and hidden signals blinking at the edges. A general raised his hand. If we reveal too early, they will crush us. If we wait too long, they will destroy Earth. The room fell into silence. Then the oldest voice in the chamber spoke, a historian, not a soldier. Humanity has always been underestimated. Every empire believed it could break us, and every empire has fallen. We do not need them to fear our weapons. We need them to fear us. Those words struck like steel. The assembly ended with a single resolution: no surrender. That night, across every secret base, across every colony, a phrase was transmitted again: Phase 3. Await the signal. But the Empire's eyes were sharp. Near Neptune, one of their patrol ships stumbled upon something enormous. Hidden inside the shadows of ice and rock, a structure pulsed with energy. Its design was unmistakably human, but its size was unimaginable, larger than any ship Earth should have been capable of building. The scout captain froze, sending data back to the fleet. Korath studied the image, his molten skin rippling with fury. "What is this?" Woody whispered. The humans had built something in the dark, something the Empire had not expected. And now the question was not if the Empire could conquer Earth, but whether they could survive humanity's secret. Tycho. Galaxy had always believed Earth was alone, weak, fragile, but in the silence of deep space a storm was gathering, and its first roar was about to shake the stars. The Empire strikes, but the patience of the Empire snapped. For days they had waited. For days they had demanded surrender, and for days Earth had answered only with silence. To Admiral Korath it was no longer defiance, it was insult. His molten eyes burned as he stood before the great projection of Earth. "Begin the cleansing," he commanded. The order rippled across the fleet. Warships the size of cities turned their guns toward Earth, their weapons glowing like newborn stars. The sky itself seemed to tremble. People on the ground watched in frozen horror as alien fire built in orbit. Then it came. A spear of plasma as wide as a mountain tore through the atmosphere, screaming toward the Pacific Ocean. The sea boiled in an instant, waves towering higher than skyscrapers before crashing down on empty horizons. Another blast incinerated a desert in Africa, turning sand to glass. The Empire wasn't targeting cities yet. They were toying with humanity, showing them the power of gods. But when the next strike fell, something unexpected happened. Over the Atlantic, a plasma barrage ignited the sky, only to vanish. A ripple shimmered across the clouds like water struck by a stone. The fire was gone, absorbed into nothing. On Earth, hidden bunkers roared alive. Massive arrays, disguised for decades as ordinary satellites, revealed their true purpose. They weren't communications tools, they were shields. Layers of energy bent the plasma apart, scattering it like mist before it could touch the ground. Korath staggered back. "Impossible," he hissed. But the impossible had only just begun. From the shadow of Jupiter, Earth's first counterstrike awakened. A fleet long hidden in the planet's radiation belt surged forward. They weren't sleek or elegant like the Empire's ships. They were brutal machines of steel and fire built for one purpose: survival. Their railguns spat slugs of tungsten at near-light speed. The first salvo ripped through an Empire cruiser, splitting it in two before its crew even realized they were under attack. Across the solar system, more traps unfolded. Asteroids that had seemed like ordinary rock suddenly shifted, their surfaces peeling away to reveal hidden launchers. Nuclear warheads, modified with alien tech scavenged from long-forgotten crashes, streaked into space. Empire ships swerved, shields flaring, but a dozen still fell, shattered under the storm. Titan's hangars opened next. Black ships slid out, sleek and silent, their hulls bending light around them. They vanished into the dark, then reappeared. Inside the Empire's formation, cloaked daggers stabbing the fleet from within. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's war machine faltered. Korath's command deck erupted in chaos. Officers shouted. Data streams collided with contradiction. This was no primitive resistance. This was a trap centuries in the making. Bring the fleet into full assault, Korath roared. Erase their defenses. The sky above Earth blazed, as thousands of alien warships moved as one. Plasma storms rained across the atmosphere, hammering against humanity's hidden shields. Railguns on the ground fired upward, tearing holes in the night sky. Cities trembled with every strike. Humanity was bleeding, but it was not falling. Then came the moment that changed everything. Near Neptune, the giant structure the scout ship had discovered finally stirred. At first, it looked like nothing more than a drifting husk, an abandoned relic of impossible scale. But as the battle raged, light spread across its surface like veins awakening in stone. Energy surged, rippling through space like thunder. The Empire's sensors screamed warnings, power levels off the charts, unknown technology, unregistered signatures. And then, with a soundless roar, the structure moved. It was no station. It was a ship, bigger than any in the Empire's armada, its surface armored with layers of metal fused from asteroid cores. Its cannons, hidden for decades, aligned with perfect precision. The humans had not merely hidden colonies. They had built a Titan. The ship spoke for them. A single transmission echoed through every channel, every frequency. It was a human voice, steady and calm. This is Earth. We do not surrender. The message was not long, but it was enough, all. Across the planet, people who had been cowering in fear stood taller. In bunkers, in shelters, in cities under fire, hearts that had been trembling now burned with fire. Humanity had finally spoken. Korath gripped the edges of his throne, molten skin cracking with rage. He had wanted Earth's surrender. Instead, Earth had given him war, and in that war something unthinkable happened. For the first time in the history of the Galactic Empire, its fleet trembled. Humanity's final ultimatum, the battlefield of the solar system burned. Alien cruisers floated in ruin, their twisted remains orbiting as silent corpses. Human railguns still thundered from Earth's surface, their metallic screams echoing through space. From Titan's stealth fleet to the asteroid cannons, humanity had bloodied the Empire in a way no other species had dared. But it was not enough. For every alien ship destroyed, 3 more appeared. The Empire's fleet stretched back into infinity, a tide of fire that no single world could withstand. Their war drums pounded louder, weapons igniting, formations closing. And then, the giant human ship near Neptune fully awakened. The structure groaned as if the planet itself were being born. Its armor lit with rivers of white fire, engines humming with power beyond comprehension. Alien sensors screamed warnings no computer could translate. This was not technology humanity should have had. Not yet. Not for centuries. Korath watched, in disbelief, molten fists clenched. What have these insects done? The ship answered with silence and then with devastation. From its core, it unleashed a weapon not of destruction, but of terror. A ripple surged outward, invisible to the eye but felt in the bones. Empire ships faltered, their weapons sputtered, their shields flickered. The mighty fleet that had burned civilizations now shivered like prey. It was not a weapon of fire. It was a weapon of memory. The pulse carried with it the recorded histories of Earth, the screams of Hiroshima, the fire of Stalingrad, the ashes of cities rebuilt from ruin. Every Empire soldier felt it. Not just sound, not just image, but emotion. Humanity's endless defiance carved into their minds. They saw a species that had faced extinction again and again, and always clawed its way back. For the first time in their lives, the soldiers of the Empire knew fear. Korath slammed his fist down. Block it! Jam it! But no jamming worked. The pulse was not a signal. It was a truth, burning into every mind. And then came the transmission. The true ultimatum. A voice, human but amplified by the great ship, thundered across the stars. You came to take our world. You thought us weak. But understand this. Humanity does not surrender. You destroy one city, we build 10. You burn our homes, we rise from the ashes. You erase our names, and we carve them into stone. We are Earth. We are Legion. And if you do not leave, we will show you what it means to fight a species that has never known peace, only survival. The words rolled like thunder, shaking the very void. On Earth, billions listened. Tears filled eyes, fists clenched, hearts ignited. Across bunkers, shelters, and streets, a roar of defiance rose. For the first time, the people were not afraid. They were ready. And as the transmission ended, the great ship revealed its final secret. Panels shifted across its hull, releasing swarms of smaller crafts, drones, fighters, machines of war. But these were not ordinary weapons. They were powered by stolen fragments of alien technology, reverse-engineered over decades in silence. Humanity had taken what had once fallen from the sky, studied it, twisted it, and now hurled it back against its makers. The swarm cut through the Empire's fleet like fire through paper. Cruisers shattered, battleships cracked. For every alien shot, 3 human counterstrikes answered. The galaxy watched in silence. Across distant star systems, other species tuned into the broadcast, their eyes widening as they saw the impossible. Earth standing not as prey, but as predator. Korath's molten skin cracked with fury. Retreat is dishonor. Advance, advance. But his crew hesitated. Their eyes darted toward the great human ship, toward the ultimatum echoing in their skulls. Fear had done what no fleet ever could. It had broken the Empire's spirit. And then the final blow fell. The human titan unleashed a second pulse, this one directed only at the Empire's command ships. Their systems fried, their minds filled with Earth's warning. Screens across, the fleet flickered with one final message. Leave now or your Empire ends tonight. The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. Korath stood frozen. His Empire had crushed hundreds of worlds, but never had they been given a choice. Never had they been warned. Now, for the first time, he felt the weight of a species that did not just fight for survival, but for legacy. One by one, Empire ships began to turn. Hesitation became retreat. Retreat became flight. The invincible armada, the hammer of the galaxy, fled from a single world. On Earth, cheers erupted. The planet that had once trembled now roared. Humanity had given its ultimatum, and the stars themselves had listened. But in the great ship near Neptune, the human commanders did not celebrate. Their faces were grim, because they knew this was not the end. It was the beginning. The Empire would return, and when it did, the galaxy would. Remember the day Earth spoke and the day the stars trembled.